Economy, trade. The flow of money comes from the travel of goods. Those goods are produced by workers. Those are taxed, their money stolen. Basically, markets are heart of economy. Workers, their little blood vessels. In our world, trade on big scale has markets. Those are entire countries. In Starsector, markets are entire planets. Like in our world, markets aren't equal, as nothing really is. That's why equity is much better than equality. But I'm not here to speak about my lacking education views of things. I'm here to talk about the game Starsector and its markets, or rather planets. So sit back and listen to my steel merchants rambling about Starsector's planets and markets. What makes markets unequal? There are many reasons for this. In simple terms, it depends on the population and hazard rating of a planet. A planet with higher hazard rating will have less growth and therefore must spend more money to protect its people, while the one with less hazard will grow faster and therefore have a higher population quicker. With more population, more industries can be made. The faster a planet grows, the quicker it will begin to turn profit. Of course, even if we take two of the same planets, they may not earn the same amount of profit. One may be a trading world with focus on light industry, commerce, farming and, for example, mining, while the other is focused on fuel, refining and is a base for the military and has orbital works which make military functional in space. Although the first may bring way more money than the second is as important as the first, as it makes this profit possible. It, after all, makes all the ships for trade and protection, while also producing machines needed by industries of the first planet. Of course, a commerce planet with size 4 will earn less money than a military one of size 6. Of course, those two can be combined. A commerce planet can have a military base instead of letting a fully industrial planet take care of all the needs of the military base. But size and hazard rating aren't everything. Conditions of a planet make it the way it is, so if it is safe, profitable or not. A planet with high hazard rating may be really profitable in the future, as its ore deposits may be second to none. And there are a lot of planets, a whopping 20 planet types in vanilla, not counting any mods. Those aren't equal by any means, so let's take a look at them, at how livable they are and how much actual resources they have. Let's also take a look at how rare those planets are. The most common type of planet is the barren world. It is almost in every system in the sector. It can work as a fine planet for industry, like refining, orbital works, fuel production and also a military base. Those planets are, however, useless for gathering industries, as they are poor in ore and incapable of making any food. Their hazard rating also isn't ideal. This can range from moderate amount of 100 plus all the way above 200. The next planet type, the second most common, is the opposite of a barren world. It's an expensive hellscape to maintain with abysmal hazard rating. However, the amount of ores it brings makes it ideal for mining. Here I of course talk about volcanic worlds. Those are extremely hazardous, therefore expensive and slow to build worlds. However, they can do much what a barren world can do, although their mining conditions are much better. These worlds are long-term investment which shines at the highest population allowed for the player colonies, ideal for mining, orbital works and military bases, although not perfect for refining and fuel production. Barren, bombarded worlds are a sorry sight for the eyes. Once planets which were havens of civilization, now ruined by many conflicts of the sector, prey to the AI wars or campaigns of various warlords. Although those can be naturally bombarded by meteors like the description says. However, by how often ruins are on those planets, I doubt it's always so. This planet type is the same as the regular barren world, however, with often a sadder past and often more danger. The gas giant, one of the two giant types of worlds found in the sector, the more common one, this one. It's an ideal space for mining volatiles, but not the ones from Dying Light. In my opinion, a useless planet type. It's useful for volatiles but nothing else really because of its high gravity, therefore has a hazard rating and lack of any other useful conditions and resources. I would even say it's worse than a barren world. And ice giants are the worst type of giants. Those planets have same volatile production as the gas giants, but are rarer and with worse hazard conditions, both having high gravity and cold or extreme cold conditions, making them overall worse in my opinion, and the worst planet in my opinion. Cryovolcanic worlds are a better choice for mining than both of the giant types. Although their hazard ratings are also bad as those of giants, those planets can have the same volatiles amount but also or to mine in O amount from those spare to ultra rich. Frozen worlds are just inferior versions of cryovolcanic worlds, won't say anything more about them. Toxic worlds are the same as those cryovolcanic ones, although those have less volatiles and often less ore. What they get instead are possible organics, although only in trace or common amounts. Then there are three types of worlds, which although have different negative market conditions, have the same resources. Those worlds are the rocky ice worlds, irradiated worlds, and unstable rocky worlds. Only those irradiated worlds are a little different, as sometimes their irradiated status isn't because of the planet's lack of magnetic field, it's because of a planet killer, like in the case of Hana Pacha. Before I get into habitable worlds, from worst to best, there's one world between those. It's the rocky metallic world. It's a superior version of the barren world, and a possible perfect industrial planet with or without a military base. It has a condition of no gravity and all possible conditions of barren worlds. However, it has way more mining resources, which makes it objectively better than barren worlds. Those metallic worlds are, however, less common than barren worlds, especially in perfect condition. There is one near habitable world, caused to have a thin atmosphere instead of a habitable one, because of natural elements, or those not, are barren desert worlds. Those are ideal for orbital works and mining. Chizomostok is a perfect example of such a world with orbital works, the industrial heart of hegemony, and the world with the highest population in this sector. Now, onto the habitable worlds. The first worlds, which barely function as habitable worlds, are the desert worlds. Those are most common habitable worlds. Their resources aren't great, although sometimes, but very rarely, those can have rich ore deposits. By ore I also mean rare ores all this time. A little bit late and maybe needed disclaimer. Sometimes farmland condition is possible on those planets. If so, it's always the poor farmland condition. This type of planet is the only one which can be habitable and have their negative conditions like hot and extreme level, but won't have anything else. By that I mean any resources, making them habitable barren worlds basically. Next 5 habitable worlds can all be equal to one another. Them being worse or better from one another is determined by their additional hazard conditions and of course resources. I will speak about those in an order which I think is from worst to best, but this is my subjective opinion. To my surprise, I think the water worlds are the worst habitable planets, not counting desert worlds. Those worlds have bad to average ores, while also having water-covered surface always, which works for farming, or rather, its water form aquaculture. It gives food equal to the colony size, which makes it okayish for food, but never the best. Of course, light industry and commerce can work here, but this planet will always be worse, even in its ideal form, against other habitable planets. If in the future it will be possible to steal lobsters from Voltron and making your own on a water world, it will change this planet type to be much better. That's possible with mods, but here we don't talk about those. Next comes the Tundra world. It's the third worst habitable planet type. The two things making it better than the water world is the possible rich farmland, making it better for farming, and the trace volatiles, although it has less organics. It's not a great change, but on paper it's better. Just like Jungle World seems to be better, but is actually completely equal to the Tundra world, which I found a little odd. I thought that Arid World should be their counterpart. I mean, they are, but those are much better. Jungle worlds, although lacking the useless trace volatiles, have bountiful farmland and plentiful organics, so they are slightly better for mining and farming. Now, onto another surprise for me and maybe for some others. Which type of world would you think comes now? The Arid world? Yeah, no. Yes, surprising, I know. It's the Terran-eccentric world. It's exactly the same as the Jungle worlds. Yes, exactly the same. This surprised me a lot. This planet is just a different flavor of jungle, it seems. This means that Arid worlds are the second best possible worlds. And now here's the thing with Arid worlds. Those worlds can be worse than jungle worlds or eccentric worlds. Yes, but ideal Arid worlds are much better than other planets, although with worse by 1 point of farmland and organics, Arid worlds can have much better all the way to ultra rich, which is surprising. Those worlds can also have trace volatiles, covering all of the mining. Their hazard rating is basically the same as those of jungle and eccentric worlds. So those worlds can be used as a jack of all trades for meeting all of the mining needs, although because of habitable condition, Arid worlds cannot use special item for mining. Although at first sight, everything with Terran worlds seems to be the same as with jungle and eccentric siblings of the Terran, it's not the same at all. Terran worlds are just like ours. What makes them different is the lack of any negative conditions which other plantable planets have. Hot or cold for arid and tundra worlds, or water-covered surface for water worlds. All those are negatives which always come with their planet types. Those of course are negated by habitable trait, but other negative traits add to their hazard. Terran worlds have none such negative traits, always being habitable. This in theory makes them the least hazardous. Of course, an ideal arid world will be better than a sub-ideal Terran world, but if you take two of those in the ideal state, the Terran world will always be better. This depends on the other conditions those planets may have. There's a unique planet in the core worlds. Gilead is the only Terran world in the core worlds by the starting date of 206. Others like Mariath and Hana Pacha were destroyed. In the core worlds there's only one planet that's actually reaching the state of a Terran world. In the future maybe it will become one. Of course there are two eccentric worlds of Eventide and Chalelon, but I don't count those. Mazalot is the world I'm talking about. The second of the Personal League worlds is a unique arid world. It's quite more green than the other arid worlds, which makes it resemble a Terran world way more. It's the only planet that stands between all regular habitable worlds and Terran ones. It began as a regular arid world and would have remained that if not for the Ludic population of the planet. In the history of Ludic faith, it's written that Ludic faithful came to this sector with their prophet and began teaching people how to cultivate the land. This means they showed the population of the sector how to terraform planets in a slower and more traditional way than the usual terraforming. We can see their ways indeed do work. Capital of the faithful, Gilead, was terraformed by Erdani Utopia Corporation. The church took over it from them and managed to keep it in a perfect Terran state. With Mazalot we can see that these terraforming methods of the Ludic faithful indeed do work to change a planet type, although in a much slower way than those of, for example, Mariath terraforming Cabal or Erdani Utopia. In short, what can be understood from this video is that colonies essentially exist in 2 or 3 forms. Military ones which protect the other colonies, economy ones which bring the most profit, and industrial ones which bring in materials, making industries of economy planets and military planets active and functioning properly. How good those planets are depends on their conditions, which are so many, bro. Some make use of industry items, impossible or possible. Let's take a look at those most important market conditions. Habitable trade lowers hazard by 25%, removes demand for organics for population and infrastructure. Biofactory increasing production of light industry can only be used on habitable planets. Nanoforges on habitable planets cause pollution to be added to a market, nullifying the hazard bonus from habitable. Autonomous mantle bore cannot be used on habitable planets for obvious reasons. It's an autonomous bore. It's away through the planet. It's basically miniaturized threat, so yeah, it's understandable. No atmosphere adds 50% to the hazard rating. But this condition is ideal for items for refining, fuel production, as well as mining and heavy industry. Fuel production and refining need this condition to use their special items, and pollution from heavy industry doesn't appear because of the lack of atmosphere to pollute. This condition is therefore a must for a good industrial colony. Hot or extreme hot condition gives 25 or 50% hazard rating. This condition makes the use of prior ethnic engine item for military bases possible to be used. It increases size of fleets by 25% for hot and a whopping 100% for extreme heat, while also negating those conditions. This is a need for powerful military colonies. One condition that's not desired on habitable worlds is volatile deposits of any kind, as it makes soil nanites for food production impossible to use. The rest of the conditions are additional, not changing much, although size of ruins on a planet matters for tech mining. Orbital solar array is useful for farming, however the player is unable to make one in vanilla. In short, volcanic worlds are best for military and industrial worlds. The same goes for rocky metallic worlds. Barren worlds can be also used. For economic planets, habitable planets without volatiles are the best. Terran worlds are number 1 for this, while arid worlds are the second. The rest of the worlds aren't ideal for any of those, although some are better at other things than others. Already in the game there are many options for colonies, many types of planets, conditions, ways to make a possible colony viable. However, terraforming options would be great, and this could be tied to colony crises. For example, the game could give us 2 ways for terraforming. A slow one, which also wouldn't be able to terraform everything, but could give some bonuses by making the Luddites like us more for using their ways. Or there could be a quick one, a quick way to terraform, which could bring the factions down on our head. A lot could be done, and a lot has already been done with this game. Thank you for watching, like and subscribe to the channel, tell me down in the comments what do you think, and answer me this one question. On what planet would you like to live? I personally would like to live on Gilead, or the less religious version of it, Mazalot. I think honestly those 2 planets are the only ones which are good to live on in Starsector. The rest of them are more or less small hells. But tell me what you think in the comments below. Like and subscribe to this video, and goodbye.